Welcome Wargamers to some more narrative ideas from the folks who won the latest lore competition, and today I'm reading about an incredibly cool khornate warband. This one is written by Kenzie M. Where blood makes the grass grow.
There is no honor without blood.
Among the sweeping plains of Hysh, there is perhaps none so blighted as the arterial steppe. The vast grassland is resplendent with wildlife, though it all seeks one thing and one thing above all: blood for the blood god. Yeah, it is upon these lands stalk demons and beasts alike with serrated teeth and horns sharpened to sword points. But none are so fearsome as to challenge the masters of the savannah. High above on a guarded plateau sits the domain of King Tiberius Calor, the Silver-Blooded, one of Khorne's mighty lords. From here, great conquests are begun in the name of the blood god, to claim worthy skulls for the brass citadel, and more subjects for the mighty lord to dominate. Throughout the Age of Chaos, and yet still in the Age of Sigmar, the taint of the arterial steppe has bled through more and more of the realm of light. But even in this blood-darkened hellscape, King Tiberius finds no satisfaction. Not until he has what he truly desires. Not until he has one worthy enough to be called his Red Queen.
It is by no accident that we are here today. It is by Khorne's will that we were forged into the glorious kingdom we are at present. If you only knew of the eightfold trials I endured to be so blessed, perhaps you would not speak so thoughtlessly.
The story of the Silver-Blooded's obsession can be traced back to the very inception of the Age of Chaos. In this time, Tiberius Calor was heir to one of an array of noble houses upon what would become the arterial steppe. He held no end of approval among them, having proved himself the staunchest defender of the territory, and even curried significant favor with the priesthood of Sigmar, becoming betrothed to a priestess whose name has been lost to history. On the eve of their wedding day, the collective jealousy of Tiberius's spurned lovers proved a tantalizing lure for the forces of Slaaneish's invaders, who descended upon the plain with little warning. At the urgings of his younger brother, Prince Maven, Tiberius fled with much of the rest of the court, leaving his betrothed and her party to the mercy of their god. Lightning flashed and cracked across the sky as the priest rejoined in summonings of Sigmar's wrath. When the storm broke, not a single Sigmarite corpse could be found buried amongst the mounds of dead demonettes. Enraged by the disappearance of his beloved and the destruction of his lands, Tiberius sought revenge against the bewitching invaders and fell deep into the thrall of Khorne. Those impure of blood were slaughtered, their offerings to the blood god reversing the damage wrought by the Slaaneishi cults by way of making the land all the more dangerous for those unfamiliar with it. The weak were routinely culled and cannibalized until at last only the most worthy remained under Tiberius's rule. As bringer of this return to glory, the Silver-Blooded was promptly declared sovereign ruler of the newly christened arterial steppe.
Onward, my brothers. Let our offering of blood birth a war fit to please the blood god.
In the interest of strengthening his kingdom, King Tiberius and the bloodbound who served him conduct their conquests in highly specific fashions. Slaughter priests serving as clergymen of the territory divine when and where Khorne demands his offerings of battle, with a pair sent to lead the army to the site of new conquest with one of the king's bloodsecrators along to declare the dominion of the Silver-Blooded. Often, a beast-taming bloodstoker is tasked with herding a pair of fierce, skull-starved Khorgrats into the heart of the enemy, the crack of their torturous whip the only thing able to control the creature's savage hunger. It is the duty of the bloodstoker to drive captured warriors, sacrifices, and most importantly, women back to Calor's castle once the battle is over. Alongside these heroes are the king's faithful knights, warriors of significant renown who at some point or another were deemed blessed by the blood god. Clad in heavy blood-red armor lined with regal silver, these blood warriors are responsible for much of the carnage caused in Khorne's name and are famed for the modification of their shields into gore fists, capable of defense and supplementary offense. A large following of blood reavers shamble behind this royal procession, weapons and armor chained to their unnaturally muscle-bound bodies. This is the Honorless Horde, made up of lowly serfs deemed weak and destined to die as sacrifices to the blood god. They are disciplined by a horribly mutated, exalted Deathbringer, whose inspired fear among the members of the Horde has led to the growth of horns upon the Deathbringer's head. The Honorless Horde is sent in first, filled with a murdery frenzy and brazen fury by the pair of slaughter priests, exhorting them to glory, and forcefully draws the attention of the settlement's most troublesome defenders, while the more mobile groups of knights are tasked with clearing out the weaker elements of the opposing force. As the last of the blood reavers are slain, the remaining defenders rise to see that they have become surrounded, with no other choice but to surrender or suffer the same fate as their butchered enemies. Should they yield, the defenders are judged by the slaughter priests, representing the will of Khorne, and the bloodsecrator, representing the will of the king. Those of good physical stock and martial prowess are offered a place in service to the king, be it as future knights or strategists, or to serve in more mundane roles. Those judged as cowardly or weak-willed are allowed to live, but only among the damned Honorless Horde.
Unto me you shall give an offering, 88 daughters of your city. If Khorne does indeed favor this wretched place, you will have the honor of having finally revealed my Red Queen.
Wealth, food, and power have long since been established as commonplace in the kingdom of the Arterial Steppe, a given earned by right of conquest and through Khorne's favor. And it is in the interest of keeping this favor that their expansion continues. It is similarly by way of these conquests that King Tiberius acquired a resource far more elusive and far more valuable to him than anything else: women. This is not to say that the kingdom is absolutely devoid of females, quite the contrary, but more that the king's desire for more is insatiable. He will not rest until he finds his perfect match, one such as she who was stolen from him long ago. To this end, it is tradition for the territories subjugated by the Silver Blood to offer up their daughters for a ritual known as the Queen's Trial. Taking place every 8 years, the Queen's Trial is an event unlike any other in the Arterial Steppe, calling attention of every major figure under the Silver-Blooded's dominion. For those beneath the king, Queen's Trial represents an opportunity to curry favor with their leader by offering participants or otherwise a chance to establish a continuance of their bloodline. However, for the participants, the Queen's Trial is a desperate fight for survival. Armed with little more than a simple blade and sparse armor, women deemed worthy to participate are tasked with surviving a series of grueling challenges in order to prove themselves before Khorne and the entire kingdom as worthy to claim the throne alongside King Tiberius. First, an aspirant must contest one of the Honorless Horde before facing a chaotic beast of the steppe, most commonly a Raptorix or a Rocktusk Prowler. By this stage, the weak-willed and unskilled have been rooted out, and much of the nobles' idle attentions are drawn more into focus as the strong reveal themselves. The third challenge pits aspirants against a hulking Bulgor, while the fourth pits them against one of the king's own knights. Women who reach this stage catch the eye of the king's servants, having proved themselves sufficiently strong enough to bear along the next generation of blood warriors and skull crushers. The knights aim not to claim the skulls of their opposing aspirant, but rather simply claim victory in single combat. Compared to the series of threats and bargains a knight has to make in order to even lay claim to those promising aspirants, ensuring the exhausted women's defeat is seemingly simple. However, there are a rare few who overcome their more skilled opponents, who are so blessed by Khorne as to be able to persevere through a blood warrior's unrelenting death throes and claim their skull. It is these few that draw the attention of the king himself. For their final trial, the king descends his throne and strikes the aspirant once with his reality-splitting axe. Only one woman has ever survived this attack, the Queen Apparent, Evangeline. Those who fail, those who prove unworthy, water the land with their blood, ensuring the grass of the arterial steppe grows ever more. Incredible work, Kenzie. Absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about why I like this story. Why is it cool? All right. It was certainly voted on. It came in 5th place for our 2+ Tough lore competition in 2020. And here's the thing. There's a few things going on. One, Khorne is a fascinating faction. It's a good one to choose. And putting it in Hysh is really interesting. And the reason I say that is, one, we don't have a lot of stories in Hysh at the moment, but also it's a place of logic and nobility and kind of like this austerity to it. So what does a crazed maniac warband look like in that setting? Well, in this rendition of it, I guess you could say, their perception is they keep the fancy court going, but they change it in a way that has been tainted by the blood god. They still have this courtly noble system, but it's been infiltrated where everything is now measured by destruction or skulls or trophies, but they still have a king, and a king needs a queen. And how do we find a queen? Well, we put them through trials and challenges. We have to have our, nobility, quote unquote, which is the higher echelon of warriors. They also need to find suitable mates so that we can keep this society going. So on one hand, it's very intelligent. It's, one could use the word classy in terms of their structure and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, of course, they are incredibly savage. They're sacking kingdoms, taking their children, and that kind of stuff. And honestly, what I think is that this is a cool depiction of someone having tragedy happening to them, meaning he lost his initial wife, and then inflicting that pain of loss on everyone around him. It's a great symbol for that, of just, I lost the person that I love, and I'm going to take the people that you love, even the people he's already conquered. It's just a nagging desire built inside of him. I will also add that one thing I do like about this story is that women are the constant givers of life in this story. Even though it could be read that they are slaves and demoralized and that kind of stuff, but they're not really, because all the things that we have about women here are their ability to fight and, kind of get to the next level. I'm sure there are some houses that basically have a lottery, while others take volunteers who just want to prove themselves and prove, their household can handle what the king delivers. And even if they die, they still contribute, they still add a life, because the grass grows from their blood. At no point do these women have any kind of real subjugation. They are equal, they are fighters, but they have a different role in society for how they use their strengths. I personally would love to see this fighting combat pit where all these ladies are just as scary as a blood warrior, right? All the things that we've seen about blood warriors, I want ladies who are just as scary as that. Give me that Khorne unit and I will buy it up. I think it sounds so cool. So Kenzie, you did a great job. Everyone, leave some comments down below what you thought of the story, what you would like to see from the Realm of Hysh, as it does change all of the Chaos warbands that go into it. Remember, the realms do affect people, and so what would a Nurgle warband or a Slaanesh one or a Tzeentch, what would that look like in Hysh? Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you in my next Age of Sigmar lore video. Happy wargaming. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was made possible by the folks over here to the left. These are my top supporters over here on YouTube and on Patreon that keep this channel going. If you'd like to learn more about how to become a supporter and get some cool things in the process, like exclusive pictures and interactions with me, and get your questions answered here on the channel, go ahead and click any of the links down below or the join button on the community page over on YouTube. Regardless of your choice, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me with this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Happy wargaming.